Good morning. Shavua Tov, everyone. This week we're beginning to learn about some of the laws that Moses got on Mount Sinai, in addition to the Ten Commandments. Moshe went up there for 40 days, and in that time, God told him the whole entire Torah, in addition to the Ten Commandments. So that's why it starts off this week's Torah portion, Ve'ela, and these, and means it's continuing on from Mount Sinai, what Moses heard on Mount Sinai. Good. So what exactly did he hear at Mount Sinai? Starts off with a very unusual and not practical nowadays law, seemingly. The law of servants, slaves. Slaves, according to Judaism, you can have slaves. There are different types of slaves. There's what's called, I guess you can say there's four types of slaves. There's a Jewish male slave, a Jewish female slave, Eved Ivri, Ama Ivriya. Then there's an Eved Kanani and a Shifcha Kananit, a female and a male non-Jewish servant. And basically, all of them are not relevant today. Even though some people say that the non-Jewish maid servant is, but in any case, so it's not relevant today. So here we have a part of the Torah that seems to be obsolete, right? Wrong. Nothing in the Torah is obsolete, absolutely nothing. And even when God gave the Torah, its implications were not only on the surface level, but also much deeper, and not only to certain people, but to everybody. So for instance, all the laws of a king and the laws of the Kohanim, right? Those are only relevant to certain people, right? Yes, and superficially, yes, on the surface level. But deeper, every Jew is a Kohen, and every Jew is a king. And every Jew is going to be also a servant, a male servant, a female servant, a Jewish servant, a not Jewish servant. What's this talking about? What does it mean? So that's what we're going to try to discuss over here. That's what we're trying to discuss. That's what the Torah is called, a living Torah. It's a living Torah, means that everything in it is alive. Everything in it is alive. And of course, when Mashiach comes, all these laws will be reinstated also. There'll be a holy temple, and all the Jews will be in Israel. And so there'll be a lot of laws that we don't do now because we don't have a holy temple, and all the Jews are not together in Israel. The laws of the Jubilee years and etc. Okay, but meanwhile, let's deal. That's what Chassidut does. That the Chassidus deals on the more personal level, which that's a thing which always is there. It's not just a substitute. And you can see that a little bit from the language over here. It says Elu Mishpatim. These are the laws, Asher Tasim Lifneim, that you have to put before them. But the word before them. One second. Am I recording over here? Yeah. The word before them also means inside of them. Bifneihem is also lipneim, to the penimiut shalahem, to the inside of them. Huh? So here's some laws that Moses puts inside of us. God is speaking to Moses. Eila mishpatim, these are laws asher tasim, that you should put lifneim, in front of the Jewish people. Here's the law. Ready? Law number 1. Ki tikne eved ivri, when you purchase a Jewish servant. I want to call it a slave. Slave is not a nice word, especially you got to be politically correct. When you buy yourself a Jewish servant, but the fact is it's a slave. It's a slave on very good conditions and with a lot of restricted, a lot of the restrictions on what you can do with them and what you can tell them to do. You can't beat them, etc. But nevertheless, Eved Ivri. Okay. So when you buy for yourself a Jewish servant, Tzorch Lavan, we have to understand, says the Rebbe, let me make this a little bit bigger so it's a bit easier for me to read. 1 minute, here we go. These are the laws that you should put lifneim and before them, inside of them. When you find, when you buy a Jewish slave. Now, first of all, how do you buy a Jewish slave? Even though this is not relevant to what we're talking about, just a few parenthetical statements. When a Jewish slave, you can buy for only two ways. A Jew that steals, he steals money, and he gets caught, and he can't pay back. So the court can sell him. The court sells him for a certain amount of time till he can pay back. Or a Jew that has lost all of his money, has no money, is totally indigent, impoverished, got no money at all. Then he can sell himself, permissible for himself. So that's a Jewish servant. Okay. But of course, all of us are Jewish servants. We are servants of the creator of the universe. God took us out of Egypt. He said, up to now, you've been the servants of Paro. Now, avodayim, now you're my servants. Okay, let's go. We have to understand the lifneim. These are the laws that you should put before them. This is plural. What is the law you should put in front of them? Ki tikneh, singular. When you buy, this is singular. It should say ki yiknu, when you buy, right? You're speaking to all the Jewish people. You should say when, first of all, this is third person also. Lifnehem, in front of them, third person plural. It should say when they buy it. When they buy, if you're continuing on the stream of the sentence, so it said these are the laws you should put before them when they buy a Jewish servant. It should be like this. This is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. God is telling Moses, when you purchase a Jewish servant. This is referring to what it means. These are the laws that you should put before them. Moses has to, all of a shalom, Moses of blessed memory, Davka Yasima Mishpatim, he has to put the laws before them. How does Moses put the laws of the Torah inside of every Jew? By means that Moses, he purchases a Jewish servant. He makes every single Jew a servant. We'll see what it means. The Inikativ, it says, so Moses is going to make every Jew a servant of God, but they're going to have to be purchased by Moses. Now here we're going to have the purpose of this essay a little bit is to show us what exactly Moses is. What is a true Jewish leader supposed to do? Now, every generation has to have a Moses. Every generation has to have a Moses. They don't have to have, if this generation does not have a Moses to it, then no one will get Judaism properly. No one will get the point. There has to be in every generation a Moses, so at least someone, he can teach someone to get Judaism properly. And Judaism properly is to be a servant of the Creator. That's what every single Jew really is and wants to be. We'll see what this means. And what has it got to do with Moses? How can Moses do this? How does Moses do it? Just write a book about it, and that's it, right? The people learn, they learn. You want to learn how to be a singer, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a this. So you go and you learn from somebody who knows. What do you have to have a special Moses in every generation? It's like you have to have an Einstein in every generation, or there won't be any physicists, right? You have to have a whatever is of a Beethoven in every generation, or there won't be any composers. That's not so. Why does there have to be one special Jew, Moses, in order for there to be Jews? The Jews will know what a Jew is. Why? So we're going to see. But again, this is presupposing that what really is a Jew is a person that wants to serve the creator of the universe in order to improve the world. That's what every Jew wants. Okay. And only Moses can bring everybody to do this. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Hine, you can see if it is written, but natati. Hine kativ, it is written, but natati esa b'sorach alivim techa. Later on in the Torah, we'll see in the book of Deuteronomy, right? So Moses is speaking to the Jewish people. Moses says to the Jewish people, if you do my commandments, this is Moses speaking. If you do my commandments, I will give grasses of the field to your animals. That's a little bit going overboard, right? Let's say Moses thinks he's the king, right? He thinks the boss, and he's giving all the commandments. What does it mean? Moses says, I will give bread, I will give food to your animals. What does that mean? I mean, Moses knows he's not going to live forever. And the Torah is for all generations. Moses also knows that the commandments are not his. The commandments are God's. So obviously this is God speaking through Moses. God is saying, if you do my commandments, then I will give the grasses to your animals. God is saying it through Moses. Why does he have to say through Moses? Why through Moses? What people could say, oh, come on, Moses, you're exaggerating. He says, oh, listen to this. Not only that, I'll give the rains in their time, the early rains, the late rains. Moses, you don't bring any rains. Come on. So this is obviously God speaking, but he is speaking through Moses. And that's the whole point. Moses is saying to the Jewish people, if you do the commandments, I will give grasses to your animals. Who is the animal? This is talking about Moses. And Moses, he gives grass to all of our animals. What animals do we do? What do we have? Ha'inyan is zarati at Beit Yisrael, zera adam v'zera behema. It says, I have planted the Jewish people seed of man and the seed of animal. It's a sentence from Isaiah, right? From Isaiah. I have made the Jewish people into man. There's two types of Jews. There's Jews that are men, humans, and there's Jews that are animals. Animals, Jews. What does that mean? What does that mean? What's an animal? And so, first of all, there's all these groups nowadays in the world that care about animals, right? They care about animals, that they're very, very careful. You shouldn't pain animals. And in fact, that is a, here it is. Yeah. One second. I'm sorry, it is in Jeremiah. There's a sentence from Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah 31. Okay. There's all these groups against the pain, giving pain to animals, and in the Torah also it says you're not allowed to give pain to animals, undue pain to animals. You're not supposed to do it. Why? Because animals are also creations of God, and they have feelings, and they have intelligence, and they react to things. And there's animals that can be loyal, and animals love their children. Animals. So it says there's people also that are like animals. Okay. People that are also like animals. Now, animals are not human beings. I mean, let's not go overboard. Right? There's some people that think that animals are more important than people. That's not so. Why is it not so? Because there are people, and people are more developed, if you want to call it, than animals are. They have a higher awareness of reality than animals do. Humans. Well, in other words, an animal is called an animal only in comparison to a human. Well, we're also called animals and compared to what a human is supposed to be. That's what it says in Jeremiah. I've made the Jewish people a seed of man and seed of animals. Sheish beis madrigas, there's two types of Jewish people. Ha'echad, one of them is neshamos hagavos. These are souls which are very, very, how do you say, perceptive. Me'alma b'mayla madriga in level. Ve'em nikra zera adam. They are called the seed of man. Like you have people that have a knack in mathematics. Some people have a knack in the music. Some people have a knack in art. And other people don't have a knack in it. Well, there's some people that have a knack in God. Some people feel God. They feel the Creator. They feel that the Creator, and they feel this whole world is a big, amazing, surprise miracle every instant. Everything in the world is a miracle, and they feel the Creator. And that's what a human being is supposed to be. That's what Adam, like the first man when he was created. The word Adam means adameh, similar. Adam is similar to God. In other words, he has a perception of the Creator. Adam. She'em and neshamos, these are souls which come from Adam Elyon, what's called the upper man that sits on the throne. You read it in the prophecies of Isaiah and of Ezekiel. Like we said before. The Ketiva that says, Nasa Adam B'Tzelmenu, that's when God made man. He said, let us make man in our image, and in our form, in our image. These are what's called the souls of Atzilut, souls which are revealed godliness. She'em and Nikrim Banim, they are called sons of God. Masha'enki and Neshamas of Bria, which are not the sons, and they demonstrate the fact that the Jews are the sons of God. What does it mean, sons of God? That they are aware that there's a Creator. They're aware, they feel the Creator. Masha'enki, and that it says in the Tanya says there could be only one in every generation. Masha'enki, which is not the case in the Shamas the Bria, which is not the case the souls of Bria and Yetzira and Asiya. They are called servants, Banim and Avadim. Right? Im kabanim, im kavadim. There are some Jews that demonstrate the fact that now really all the Jews are sons of God and all the Jews are servants of God, but not all the Jews demonstrate this. There's some Jews which only demonstrate that they are the sons of God. In other words, they are godly people. They are God. They feel God all the time. They feel God all the time, and that is more dominant than the fact that they are servants of God. Then there's other Then there's other Jews that they are only at best servants of God, and once in a while they feel that they're sons. Right? They read in a book somewhere. Okay, but the majority of the book, 99.99% of Jews, they're called servants of God, and they're also called animals. In comparison to those Jews that feel that they're sons of God, that's true Adam. That's what it means. That's what it says. If treat us God either like sons or like servants. Just like a person, das. A person has what's called dat. Dat means awareness. Kach elu and neshamas, also these souls have dat. They have dat, gadol, big awareness in God. A Jewish, not Jewish people, all people, they have an awareness of their Father, right? That's the way a normal, how do you say, healthy functioning family is, that the children love the father loves the kids, father, mother. There's a special relationship with the father, but let's say father and mother, the same thing. But a father in some ways has a deeper relationship with the son, but not to go into that. Then there's others that they don't recognize their father. A child, usually, an animal, animals, if you take them away from their parents, then after a year or something like that, the parents don't recognize the children, and the children don't recognize the parents. Right? A cat doesn't recognize who his mother or his father is. They don't care. A dog, a horse. I mean, I'm not an expert in animals, and maybe somebody who is can tell me differently, but as far as I know, it's not. In any case, however it is, it's nowhere near like parents. Right? You can tell a child that's been separated from his parents, who knows how long ago. This man is your father. Oh, yes. Now they have these things with DNA testing, right? DNA testing. This man is your father. He's your father. Daddy, I love you. Right? He didn't know it was his father before. They just told him he is. All of a sudden, it opens up this feeling of a child recognizing his father. Child, that's called dat. Dat means to recognize. The same thing is recognizing God. There's some people that they don't recognize God. That's like an animal. You separate a cat from his mother, from his father, after a year, whatever, they don't recognize. The same thing is there's Jews that they don't recognize there's God. They don't feel God. They don't feel there's a creator. They're independent. They exist. They don't know what's going on, but they're here. Here I am. I am. They don't feel that there's God. Maybe someone comes and tells them that there is God. He gave the Torah. You're a Jew. Okay, so it sparks off something in him, and he does the commandments. But to feel that he's a Jew, to feel it all the time, right? Somebody says he's a Jew. That it could be that you feel. That you feel. That's a certain amount of dat. That you feel. That I'm a Jew. But to feel it all the time in a way that affects my personality and my day-to-day life, there's no dot. It's like a cat with his father, right? No connection. Pirish dot. What does it mean, dot? It doesn't mean to say yediyah levad. It doesn't mean intellectual. Ela bechinas hergasha means feeling. Mamash, kamoshi yisbri, like we said before. Feeling. That's one type of a Jew, that he feels God. He feels the Creator. Not like people used to feel when they went to the Holy Temple. I'm feeling I'm being created. Bait, the other one is Zerabahema. Then there's Jews that they are what's called the seed of animal, that's like everybody. Ayin neshamas, the bia, the souls of what's called bria, yitzir, and asiya, that they are kemat kol neshamas. That's like almost all the souls of our generations. Ki neshamas of atzilus, because the souls which were of atzilus, hem b'nei aliyah, they were very high. Those were people like the Tanaim, the Amoraim, the people that wrote the Talmud. These were tremendously high souls. It says that they had the power to raise the dead. Afilu b'doros harishonim, b'nei aliyah. And even back then, in the time when the Tanaim and the Amoraim, there were certain souls that were just completely in a whole different level, like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and others, that they were a totally different level than everybody else, as far as awareness of God. She'ein, that they are neshamas, she'ein lahem das, that these are the souls which haven't got so much awareness in godliness. Ein rotzalomar doesn't mean to say that in lahem seichel, b'hasaga belokus. It doesn't mean to say that they have no intelligence or understanding of what God is. They can understand ideas of Kabbalah or ideas of Chassidut. Sheyesh lahem seichel, they have understanding. They can grasp the ideas of the greatness of what God is, according to books, according to teachers. Hasaga v'avan, you can understand how God enlivens everything. Like that's what we're doing now. We don't feel it in our soul. Look, and therefore, nikra ba'ema. That's what it's called, a ba'ema. Right? If we find out that somebody, whatever it is, that broke into my car, or that I lost money, or that I made money, or something, that excites you. That excites you. Even if you say, I shouldn't be, I'm a religious person, I should be interested in God. Yes, you should. Hello, you just won $10,000. Ooh, really? Oh, no, I'm religious. But that first ooh that you have, that's the real you. That's the real you. And the real you is a behemoth. It's an animal. It's like an animal gets excited when you give a little dog a biscuit or something. And what about godliness? When we pray, when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, we're really excited a little bit, right? You can think about it, you can get it, but it's not an obvious thing like if somebody sees his father that he hasn't seen for so. So why is he called an animal? Because an animal also has seeing and hearing, but just hasn't got dot. It just hasn't got dot. Like I said before, an animal, it's not connected, doesn't really feel anything except for itself. Kachu bechinas neshamos, also these souls. She'en behem bechinas adat. They haven't got any feeling in godliness. She'adatu bechinas hergasha. It's a feeling. It's how do you say? It's a feeling. It's a sense. Shehaskala niksheret, that the idea gets attached, v'nikva benafsho ke'ilu margish, as though you see. So let's just take our example, right? You tell this boy, you were separated from your father in the Holocaust. Yes, I know, I heard, I understand. He was killed in the Treblinka or something like that. Well, I got news for you, he wasn't killed. What? Really, you sure? He says, no, he wasn't killed. I'd like you to meet your father. Takes him in a room. There's 15 people. 15 people. He said, which one is your father? He said, I have no idea. He says, this man is your father. Okay, so when he says this man is your father, that's an intellectual thing. He could point to somebody else, right? He could point to somebody else. You would look at it. It could be that it would arouse the same thing. Could be. Could be. But the fact is, inside of him, he knows and he feels that there is a father that he has to attach to. And when he sees this person and he sees the reaction of this person to him, as this awakens this certainty that he has that this man is my father. That's called dat, the feeling. The feeling. The same thing is with us. We'd say that this is God, right? That you are a Jew. Yes, I'm a Jew. Right? That feeling, I am a Jew. What does it mean? It's a very, very vague feeling that God really exists, and I know that he exists, and that God is creating me. Very vague. Well, there's some people that by them, this feeling is not vague. This feeling that I'm a Jew is not a vague feeling at all. The feeling that I am a Jew and being a Jew means attachment to God. This is, excuse me, this is their whole being. This is what they really feel. It's set into their soul, ki ilu margish, as though they feel. Ki dat milashan, this is the language of Adam Yada, that man knew his wife. Shubachinis iskashos means an attachment, vischabrus, and a joining. Similarly, it says, from my flesh I grasp God. So there are some people that can really feel the creator. They feel it. Even though, and it's a natural thing by them. It's a natural thing. And by us, it's not a natural thing. By us, we have to think about it and we have to remember it. You have to try, and then after that, you pretend. Even though you can't see God with your physical eye, but nevertheless, it's like a person knows and feels in his soul, asher bekirbo, a person feels that he's alive. How do you know that you're alive? You feel it. You don't see your soul. You don't see your soul. What it is. Nevertheless, who a person feels it. Al Yadei Sharoah, he sees the life of his body, Shehuva Nefesh, which is the soul. Kasher Yishan, when a person goes to sleep, so this feeling goes away, and when he wakes up in the morning, Teshuv, it comes back to him. So this thing that goes away when I go to sleep, when it comes back to me, that's me. I feel that I'm alive. Gila or Chayes Nefesh. Kach, the same way is that there's some people that they have the same certainty that you can't explain it. A person, you can't convince a person he doesn't exist. There's certain people also, you cannot convince them that God does not exist. They feel it. Just like you can't convince me that I don't exist, right? I feel that I exist. You can bring all the intellect you want to. Here I am. Who are you talking to? You're talking to me. I must be here. He says, no, you just imagine that you're here. You just imagine that I'm talking to you. But the fact is, I feel that I'm here. The same thing, there's people that they really feel the Creator. They are certain. To a certain degree, every Jew feels this, and that's why there were Jews that were willing to give their lives, like in the what was it? In the sometimes a word just skips my mind. In the time when the church was trying to make everybody to convert, so there were a lot of Jews that rather than convert and just say I'm not a Jew, they were willing to be burnt on the stake, right? They were willing to die. Because they felt suddenly at that moment, they felt that there's a creator and that my whole existence is just a big gift from the creator. I can't use the gift to go against the giver. But the souls of but there's souls which are called the souls of Atzilut. Those souls, like Job said, from my flesh I can grasp God. Even there is no thought that can possibly grasp God at all. Namely, God's essence you can't, but Metziuto, no, but a person can feel ma she'anu ro'im, that all the worlds that are like a big body. So that's the idea of Chabad, is trying to get us to at least activate our soul to some degree that we can feel a little bit the truth that we're being created and what the creator is. How do we do that? Think a little bit. The world exists. It's here. It's coming on its own? It's here on its own. Maybe, yeah, maybe not. You start to think, maybe not. Maybe the world is not on its own. Maybe God is creating it. If so, that's pretty freaky. God is creating the whole world. There's really such a thing like that. You start to think it, then maybe you can feel it a little bit. You can feel the life of God, Hashofea B'em, which is in the worlds, B'kol Rega, every moment. Vaskala Zu, and this feeling can be acceptable, can be perceived by everyone. That's the God of the Jews, the God that's creating us. But when a person is attached with his soul, that a person will be emotional and feel it. 1 minute. Mamish, really, ki'ilu roas, that's called dot. To understand, you can understand. To even be intellectually emotional about it, you can also. Valzel says, who is a person who is wise, one who sees. There's books, right? There's books, go to the library. There's books, hundreds of books, thousands of books, tens of thousands of books that you can read the book and get excited about what it says in the book. You get excited about what it says in the book. Right? It could be science fiction. It could be a whole thing that doesn't make any sense. Right? It never was and it never will be. Or even not just regular fiction. Right? And you nevertheless you come to love this character and you hate this character. Maybe they even make a movie out of it because you love, but the character doesn't really exist whatsoever. It's just in your mind. A person can get intellectually excited about something. And sometimes you can get intellectually excited about something that really does exist, but you don't really feel it. And that's the example of God. That's the example of God. God really exists. God creates us. In fact, God is the creator of all existence. God not only exists, he creates all existence. God is infinitely more real than any existence we can possibly believe, more than spiritual. But do we feel it? That God is creating us. We don't feel it. But when you think about it, if you think about it, a little bit of a feeling you can have. Now, there's the key word here, true. Is it that really true? It's really true. I'm really being created. That's really true. When you feel that, then it says it's like seeing. Ke'ilu roa, as though you see with your eye, how everything is being created from nothing. And this it says Hashem Aleim Yir'eh. That Hashem appears to them. When it's not the case, when a person doesn't understand that God is close, that's called zera behema. That's the part of you that's like an animal. You get the idea, but you don't get excited about the reality. Like I said, it's like reading a science fiction book or something. Even though you understand it, Gam Kol Yisrael and all the Jewish people, they believe in God. The Amunah and faith is above understanding, is above reality. It's above this feeling. Like I said, Jews are willing to give their life. The Jew knows that he's a Jew, but he doesn't really feel God. This is nevertheless, it's called like a crown. It's something surrounding him. Like we said, a thief prays to God before he steals. He believes in God, but it doesn't really affect his day-to-day life. So he has faith, but he hasn't got dat. Dat means he feels godliness in what he does, that it changes him. Like it says, like it says, you should know the God of your fathers. By means of this feeling of dat, attachment, like we said, like man knew his wife, by attaching, feeling the reality of God, by means of this, the world does not conceal at all, and this love, that love that comes from reality, the real and seeing, there's no comparison to it. So when a person loves, there's two ways to love God. You love God because intellectually it's explained to you. So you love God like you love a political figure or something like that. He's really a good guy. But it could be maybe not. Could be maybe not. It's love, but it depends on your understanding. It's something that comes, so to speak, from outside of you. But that means it's something that's inside of you. You feel the reality of it. You feel reality. Like I said, just like a person knows and feels that he exists, I know that I exist. I can feel it. I don't have to be convinced that I exist. The same thing is, these tzaddikim, they don't have to be convinced that God exists. They feel it. Even more, they feel God's existence more than they feel their own existence. This is a necessity. This is a necessary ingredient for Judaism. A necessary ingredient for Judaism. It's a goal of Judaism also that everyone should feel godliness, should feel the truth. And the reason you can't see God or hear God is it's just God is just too infinite. Infinite. You can't get your eyes around it or your understanding around it. But feeling you can feel. He says, but we don't. That's a fact. But Cain also the thing of fear. Ke'eno doma shmiya. I'm seeing. I'm also seeing. She'eno doma shmiya l'riya. It's not the same thing as hearing, understanding, as seeing something. Pirish Ria means, like the rabbis say, look at three things and you won't come to do sins. What does it mean? Look, seeing with eye and to see that it's true. Right? There's an ear that hears and there's an eye that sees. Sheyavo alav is a davar, that something good or something bad is going to happen. Afal pisha rachok, even the thing is very far from him. Sheyavo a davar that will come. But when he looks with his mind and he sees it's keilu roa miyad be'enov, like he sees with his own eyes, is keilu hova alav umityira meod. Right? Someone says, don't get on that train. If you get on that train, there's going to be disaster, right? Don't take that plane ride, it's going to be a disaster, right? So you look at the person, who are you, right? If you believe that person, then you see in your eyes, I'm not getting on that plane. I'm not getting, something bad is going to happen. Miskira mode, imrahu or sameach, if you're afraid if it's going to be bad, if it's going to be good. That's a way of, you can control the masses also. Everybody's afraid, but you don't, if you do this, you're going to go to hell. Everybody's afraid. You do this, going to go to heaven. Oh, everybody's happy. If you believe the person that's saying it, that's, so to speak, called seeing. That's seeing. If it's a good thing, then you're happy. It can be derailed. It can also be, you can be tricked into seeing and feeling the wrong things, but nevertheless, it's possible to see and to feel truth, the future. Who is a wise person? One who sees the future. That's called seeing. You really feel it. But hearing, that's the idea of understanding alone. But machshava muka, and deep thought, like if you hear from other people, shiavo adavar will come. Lo yipol lav kol kach hayira. If you see that this train is, let's say you see it's going to fall off of a cliff or something, you see that the thing is, then you're afraid you're not going to get out. Right? But if you just hear somebody tells you, then you have to believe you're not as afraid. Right? Someone else can come and tell you, don't take the thing. That was the big thing now with the corona. Should you take it? Shouldn't? You don't know if you should be afraid or you should be happy. Because is not totally revealed. Okay, again, let's get back to the subject. We're talking about feeling God. The purpose of Judaism is to feel God. Shema Yisrael, Shema also means to feel. In this case, okay, here the Rebbe is saying Shema means here. Here is talking about hearing. Afalpishem is bone, and even though the person thinks, it's not the same thing as seeing God. And that's what it means. Look at three things. You should look. That you should think about God in such a way, and think about God in such a way as though a person sees the thing. See three things, even though that it's far away. What does it say? Look at three things you won't come to do a sin. You should think. She knows there's an eye that sees and an ear that hears, and everything you do is written in a book. It's a nice idea. But what if you really feel that this is true? That's what it means. It's not just as a nice idea. This is the Jewish philosophy, and then there's another philosophy, and another, right? There's a lot of different religions. This is the way the Zoroastrians think, and this is the way this, and this is the way the Jews think. And then you happen to be a Jew. Okay, so you might do what it says because you've been told, but you're not seeing it, you're not feeling it. That's what's called hearing. This is bina, just understanding. You understand how everything is one, and that all the worlds are negated, and everything is like nothing. So everything comes from God. And God never changes. You do like all these ideas about the oneness of God. But even though you think about it, very deeply, and you think with the depth of your mind, and you're really occupied in it, you have a great faith in your heart that it's true that God does exist, but this is the level of called hearing. Nevertheless, it's just like hearing from someone else. It's not totally revealed to you. As though you see with your eyes. Therefore, as soon as you think about something else, even for a moment, then all of a sudden it'll jump on you all sorts of fears for yourself and desires and lusts and anger and depression and things like that. which is not the case when the feeling of the oneness of God. That's what we call, that's called zera behema. When you just think about it, you have the ideas in your mind, which is not the case when you feel the oneness of God really, that you feel what's called the chachma of God. It's like seeing God. Okay, so again, the job of Judaism is to convince the world that God really does exist. God is really creating everyone. God really cares about everyone. God has a plan for everyone. For the non-Jews, it's the 7 mitzvahs, no-light commandments. For the Jews, it's all the Torah. But first of all, you have to feel godliness. Either you feel it intellectually, that's called hearing, or you can feel it really, that's called seeing. The people who really see God are very, very few. That you can see that you're being created, very few. And even those that do see it only very, very briefly, that constantly see and feel that they're being created by God, that's called the seed of man. It's called a man. And if you remember before this, we said Moses comes to feed the animals. He gives grass to the animals, these animal souls. Whom mamash kafi sharia, this is like a person sees with his eyes. And it's impossible for him to remove his mind or all of his emotions from this. I mean, Dvukbo is totally clinging and unified with this oneness of God that he feels all the time. Because he sees the king with his eyes. Or that was, for instance, to take an example, that was in the time when the Jewish people received the Torah. When the people received the Torah, Kabbalah's the Torah, it says, all the people, they saw the voices, they saw what was usually heard. Hearing about God means thinking about it, being convinced. But seeing God means to feel. They saw what usually people understand. After they sinned with the golden calf, they left this level of seeing God, and they just came to the level of understanding God. That's what's called bina, understanding. And therefore, it was possible for them to sin. When, by the way, did they do the sin? As soon as they thought that Moses wasn't going to come. So now we're going to see the importance of having Moses in every generation. Nimsa comes out, Chachma is Riyah. The highest of the 10 aspects of the soul, which is called Chachma, this is seeing God. Ubina, which is understanding, this is called Shemiah, hearing. But note, and it's known, the Abba is another word for Chachma. This is Atzilut. And Bina is revealed in the world below it, the dimension which is below it, which is called Bria. And therefore, the souls that come from Bria, most Jewish souls which come from this lower level, which is called Bria, they can't see God. All they can do is hear God. They can hear about it. Okay, and therefore it's called Zera Behema. Therefore, these souls are called the seed of animal. Why are they called animal? These are Jews. 99.9% of the Jews, they have what's called the seed of animal. Why? Because they don't feel God. They don't see God. Is it possible to see God? Yes. 1/100%, whatever, less than that. 1, 2, 3, who knows, Jews can actually feel and see God. Those are called the souls of Atzilut. These, they feel the revelation of Chachma, and they see. They're called the seed of man. What joins between the two of them? Chachma, Bina. What joins Chachma with Bina is Dat. Dat means the feeling of reality. Dat is Hatit Kashut. Like it says, Adam Yada. Right, the same thing, like I said before. You explain to someone, your father, yeah, my father, he died in Treblinka. We were together there in Auschwitz, and he dies as well. The fact of the matter is, your father did not die. Really? Your he survived. He survived. Is my father still alive now? He says, yes, he is still alive. Ooh, he gets excited, right? He gets excited. Like, my father is still alive. I don't believe it could possibly be. What about, are you sure it's him? Are you positive it's him? Yes, we made all the checks. It's him, it's your father. He was ill for a while, and now he came back. This is amazing. Okay, all this stuff you can think about, you get excited, right? And here he is. You open up the door. This is your father. Oh, when you see him, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. And let's take it in not such an emotional thing, a dramatic thing. You just won $10 million in the lottery. You really had won the money in the lottery. When he sees this money, when someone comes along and he shows him the money, right? You hear about it is one thing. When you feel it, you hear it, then it's a totally different thing. Maybe the man was lying to you, maybe not. And even more, they say, okay, you just won $1 million a year. You get $1 a year for 1,000,000 years. How's that? It's not excited anymore. He doesn't really have it, right? Understanding is one thing, but seeing is a different thing. You'll be attached in the essence of your soul, in your thought, in the thought which you think. You think about God, and then you see it. What connects the two of them together? The understanding and the seeing. That's what's called dot, right? This is your father. They open up the door. They said, all of a sudden it wakes up inside of you the feeling that, yes, I have a father. I know I do have a father. I've been longing for my father. I wanted my father, and this is it. That's what attaches the understanding to the seeing. Being a Levada, which is not the case. If a person just understands, then it's just in thought. Yes, your father is still alive. Where is he? We don't know. We haven't find. Maybe we'll try to find him. It's still up in his mind. Maybe the person is not telling the truth. I get excited, but I'm not. It doesn't really touch his heart at all. That there should be a tremendous arousal of the heart. Here we're talking about God. To God, until a person is totally clinging to God. This is called dat. And this is what joins Chachma to Bina. Seeing and hearing. You could be you're in the room with this person that's your father, and you understand that your father is still alive, and you're excited about the understanding, but it doesn't connect together, right? As soon as you say, this is it, you point to it, this is it, then that enlivens, all of a sudden, it clicks. All of a sudden, there's a click. It's mine. That's the point. It belongs to me. When a person feels this, that's called dot. Dot means that it's mine, right? You get a check for $1 million, but your name is not on it, or it's spelled wrong. So you're not excited. You understand the money, you understand everything, right? But it's not your. As soon as you see that your name is written on it, right? Then all of a sudden it's mine. That's called dot. Okay, that's what Moses does. Moses is the one that transforms the animals so that they'll be able to see. It transforms us animals that we haven't got any more than just understanding of God, that we should be able to feel God. Moses has the ability to do it, and that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. And that's what is hinted at when it says, Kitikne Eved Ivri. Moses, when you arouse Jewish people to become servants of God, we're going to see how Moses does it. And let's suffice it to say that what we're doing right now, this is it. What we're reading the words of Moses, and we're the animals, and Moses is trying to draw us into the awareness and the feeling that God is creating us, and that God is our Father, and that God loves us, and that God gives us responsibility, and He gives us power to do this responsibility. And that's will bring us to a level of love and fear and awe, and activate us to be servants. But that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Let's go to this. Here we go. Stop the share.